director of Majlis al-Shura. And inshallah, this week we are joined by Brother Rohaan Gill, who served as a nurse in Gaza from in a period of time from October to now. And inshallah, he's going to be sharing his experience. And then in the future weeks, we also have other sessions planned. 2 weeks from right now, we're going to be doing a joint event at the Mass Youth Center with Brother Sami Hamdi and a few other well-known figures, and that's to commemorate the 1 year of genocide. And then 2 weeks after that, inshallah, here at the center, we'll be joined by Imam Tom Fakeen, where he'll also be talking about the situation in Gaza. And so, inshallah, over the next few weeks, each of these 2 weeks, we'll be going over a different topic, and we'll have someone that's somewhat of a subject matter expert, inshallah, talking about the situation at the moment. But once again, today we are joined by Brother Rohaan Gill, who served as a nurse, and I just want to pass him the mic, inshallah, as he could introduce himself and also give us a little bit of insight into how he got started and how he got to where he was.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Rohaan Gill. I'm also a Mass kid. I'm from Mass, Brooklyn. I know Abdullah for like a long time. I'm also a registered nurse. I went to Long Island University. And I went to Gaza in Ramadan, so in March, from February 29th to like March 29th about. And basically how I ended up there was, Palestine is a big part of my life from like 2014. That's when I first like heard about what's going on and like Israel's bombing of Gaza in 2014. Like that was 10 years ago. And that's when like it hit me like this is happening to our ummah. And throughout like in the past 10 years, learning about Islam and stuff, and learning about the ummah and like just our tradition and how we're one ummah, you know what I mean? And I'm not Palestinian, and I'm not even Arab, but it's still we are one ummah, and I do care, and I think we should all care. So 2014, I started learning about it. I started learning about justice in Islam, you know what I mean? Because justice is a huge part of Islam, an essential part of Islam. And if you don't incorporate justice into Islam, you are a deficient Muslim. You're not a whole Muslim. There's a spiritual side. You have to have justice in Islam. You have to take action in Islam. Islam is not a religion. It's a whole what's the word? It's a way of life, but it's a worldview. It's the way you view the world and how you deal with things. So that's my background before October 7th. October 7th happened, I'm sure many of us here, I was feeling very depressed, very sad with the situation. And I was like, this is very depressing. What am I doing? I can't do anything. You know what I mean? And I realized hey, I'm a registered nurse. Let me try to go. And even though I thought it was far-fetched, actually, I didn't think I would get in. And someone sent a link hey, sign up through this Google Doc to go to Gaza. And I signed up. I didn't think I would get in. And they were saying, this was in November last year, they were saying after a ceasefire in December, around Christmas, they were anticipating a ceasefire from then. They said after a ceasefire, we're going to try to get you in. So I filled the Google form out. I didn't think they would get back to me. And then in January, they reached out to me, hey, can you come to Gaza and in the next 10 days, you've been approved, can you come in 10 days? That was in January. And knowing this, how do you think I responded? I said, no, I can't come in 10 days. Because that's just way too quick. And I had some things. So they said hey, you can come in at the end of February. That's when that was my entry date. And leading up to it, I wasn't really scared. I talked to my parents. My parents actually supported me. My mom said, hey, I can't stop you from going. So my family was very okay with it. I didn't have a hard time. And then days leading up to leaving, the day before I left, I woke up and my chest was really heavy. You also think is it worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this just for me? Thoughts get to your head. Shaitan also gets to your head, and you start getting anxious. You get a little scared. And I don't usually get anxious. I don't my chest doesn't feel heavy like that, alhamdulillah. But I woke up that day, that Wednesday, and I was kind of shook. I don't know. I just had a lot of anxiety, and I couldn't sit still. So I just got up and I left my house. I was I can't so I just went to try to do some things. So I went to the gym, you know? Can't you tell? So I went to the gym. And then I'm outside the gym. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm about to leave. I don't want to go to the gym. Then I just go to like Beledi. I just go to Beledi and I just walk around Beledi for like a minute. And I don't need anything. I already bought everything I needed. So I'm just walking around. And then I'm like, okay, let me just go back. So I go to my car and Maghrib adhans. So I'm like, let me just go to Musab and pray. Uh, and I go to Musab and I go pray Maghrib there. And Sheikh Ahmed, he makes dua qanut. So at the end of Maghrib, he makes dua. And he's just making like dua for Palestine and stuff. And like right after that salah, I just felt like a lot better. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what happened, but like I took it as like a subtle sign from Allah. You know what I mean? And like when you're doing things for the sake of Allah, like at the end of the day, like Allah is Al-Latif and He'll like send you these small signs, but you just have to like look at it. You know, you have to find it because they're there. Like the signs are there.
How long was this before you left?
This was the day before I left.
The
This
day
was
before,
Wednesday.
okay.
Yeah. So like, I felt really good. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, okay, now I'm set. Like I feel good. I feel like I'm on the right path. I don't know. Maybe I'm not, but I feel like I'm on the right path, and I just felt a lot better. Then I took my flight, went to Egypt. This was when Rafah was open. So I landed in Cairo. I bought a bunch of stuff like baby formula and stuff. I spent like a couple days there. And then I headed on my way to Gaza, from Cairo to Gaza. It was like it's maybe like a 6-hour drive, but like with all the checkpoints and stuff, it's like 12 hours. And we're driving and you see all the trucks. You know the trucks, the 8 trucks that were there before? Like maybe from like an hour past Cairo, you just see the trucks lined up, like thousands, all the way leading to Gaza. And like I have videos of it, but I can't show you the videos right now. But just thousands of trucks, and that was like all the way there. Then we get to the border, and how I'm feeling is I'm feeling all right, but I'm a little like anxious. I don't know what to expect. I actually never talked to anybody in Gaza before I went, so I didn't know really how it is. And at that time, it was kind of crazy. Like just like you see the videos and stuff. It's worse now, but like it's been bad like this whole.
And you were going with like an American group or?
So I went with the United Nations World Health Organization. So they brought people from all over the world. So it was all over the world. And then under the World Health Organization are different organizations. So the World Health Organization is the umbrella organization. I went with a Canadian organization. And everybody in my group when I went wasn't Muslim. So then I get to the border. We get to the Rafah crossing. And this was right like a week before Ramadan. And okay, so I have a tradition before Ramadan. Like I watched this series called Sweetness of Salah. It's by Dr. Farhan Abdulaziz. He's from Dallas. It's like a great series. It always gets me in the mood for Ramadan. It's like about khushu and Salah. And I watch it every year. And I tell everybody to watch it. It's a great series. But this year I didn't watch it because I was so like busy with getting stuff and stuff like that. And you know, I'm like people watching as like, okay, I'm about to go in, but the people from the last convoy are coming out. So I'm just like people watching. I want to like see how they look and stuff like that. And I see this doctor, like this sheikh. He comes out of the border too. The guy that I watch every year. I'm just like, what the heck? So I go up to him and I'm like, Salam, are you like the sheikh from Dallas, Farhan Abdulaziz? And he's like, yeah. And then we're just talking for a minute. And he's like, oh, don't worry. Like it's gonna be like an eye-opening experience. They're gonna treat you so well, stuff like that. And I was just like, this is kind of crazy. Like I felt like this was like another like subtle sign. Like this guy, I watch him every year. This year I didn't watch him, and I ran into him in the craziest places. And then I felt good after that too. And then I entered into Gaza, and you know, at the border crossing, that border crossing is now like completely destroyed. You know, they welcome you like so warmly. The guy got on our bus, like a Palestinian man got on our bus, and he was like, he's like, you know, welcome to Gaza. Like, you guys are gonna go down in history as people like that came to like help us, and like we'll never forget it. And also just like try to empathize with the people and what they're going through. Like, just take that away with you. Like, when you leave here, don't forget like how these people are suffering, and put yourself in their shoes. So that was my entry into Gaza.
Thank you, Rohaan. So I think from there, the biggest thing that happened is, as you started your work in Gaza, You, of course, saw a lot of things progressing. And how long were you in Gaza? That's
About 25 days.
so around 25 days. Majority of it was during Ramadan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and so in that time, what was some of like the most like eye-opening experiences, as like the Sheikh mentioned, and as of course you've seen, like what were things that you noticed that you probably didn't expect from the people of Gaza, and from just a situation that was happening, whether it was like related to food or in terms of the deaths, but what's something that you remember, like if you had to think about it, what were the first few things that come to mind?
There's a lot. Like first of all, like the hospitality that I was given. I know people talk about it, but like it's like real. Like you will never feel hospitality like that. They treated me so kind. And these people like they're now living in tents. You know what I mean? And they were giving me stuff off their back. Uh, they would invite me to iftars. Like they were in. I had iftar in a tent. Like, and the kitchen was like a little like a propel tank, and they were just trying to make me like their best dishes, and then they would apologize. Oh, I wish like the circumstances were better. They'd be apologizing to me, and I'm just like I was like mind blown, and just every day like they're checking up on me. One day, I actually never told this story. One day, like there's a loud sound like it was the loudest sound that I ever heard in my life. It went like a craziest boom, and like the building was shaking. You know what I mean? And we were talking, me and my coworker. We were just talking. We were sitting there talking, and we hear the sound. It booms, and it's going on for a long time. The sound. It's like maybe it felt like 30 seconds. I don't know. It probably wasn't that long, but it was the loudest sound I ever heard. The building was shaking. And my coworker. You know what he did? The first thing he did, he put his arm around me. I was like. The sound ended up being like an Israeli warplane, like breaking the sound barrier, and they just do that to scare people. But like I was just thinking, like this kid, like he's younger than me, by the way. He's like a med student. He put his arm around me, and then whatever we go outside to check what it was, and there's like little kids screaming in the streets. You know what I mean? Like it's sick. Like it's just sick, and they're running. They're scared. And then after like everybody in the clinic is coming up to me like, "Welcome to Gaza," like. They're just laughing about it, like trying to like get me to
and like
laugh.
how often do those things happen? Whether it's like actual raids or bombs or missiles and so on. It's like how often are they to the point that people have just gotten used to them?
Okay, that day when that happened, like I don't react too much to things, but like when something happens, your body just reacts naturally. So I could be sitting here calm, but like my heart could be like just beating. I can't focus. My mind is racing. That whole day, like I couldn't really focus. I was just thinking that like the sound was in my head. It was just ringing in my head.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا
Yeah, so like that whole day my mind was just racing and I couldn't really focus. And at least for a half an hour I couldn't really like hold a conversation I would just be like, I would just like quiet kind of. And like literally 2 minutes after that sound, the people of Gaza, they were just like, they went back to like life, like no, oh, nothing happened, that's regular. I mean like every single person I met in Gaza, like they've had like a near death experience, like a bomb's dropped next to them or their neighbor's house or something like that. They know someone that's died. One of my friends from the hospital, he was telling me like I'm hanging out with him, and then 2 days later he comes up to me, he's like, oh yeah, me and my friends were walking next to the Egyptian border, and a drone shot a missile like 5 feet in front of us. Like this is their lives. And before October 7th, they were all in houses and stuff, and now like they're in tents, living in like the most inhumane like ways. You know what I mean?
I think that's an aspect that sometimes like I think we struggle to like understand like here in the US. It's like we try to understand, we see the videos of it, of course, but we are struggling to understand on like what their life actually looks like. Like we see the struggle, we see the deaths, but it's like it's very hard for us to visualize just because like we've gotten so comfortable. And so can you share like if you've seen any of like the janazah proceedings, or what does it look like after groups of people pass away, or like how do they process?
So at one of the hospitals I was working out, there was like janazah prayers like every hour. So if you go outside, there's a janazah prayer at least every hour. And they bring in dead bodies that's been decaying for months. They bring them in like and they wrap them. There's a morgue at the hospital, so they're wrapping them up, and there's a crazy stench. How are they processing it? I really don't know how they're processing it, man. Like I'm not really understanding. I don't know if it's. I talked to one of the doctors. He was telling me like, in like all the past wars, like the French would come in and they, like French doctors would come in and say, oh, you guys need like psychologists, you know what I mean? And then the doctor was telling me like, oh, we used to tell him like, nah, we don't need that, like we're good. But like he was telling me now, he thinks every single person in Gaza right now needs like a psychologist. He needs to talk to somebody, because what's going on is so like unbelievable and so bad. Like I met a guy, his whole family was killed, except 2 of his sons, but like 5 of his other children and his wife. And he told me like it wasn't just like hard that they died. He couldn't find places to bury them together. So it took him like a while to bury them. And after he buried them, the next day he went back to work. And he's been working since. So I don't know how they're coping. I really don't. It's just really bad. I met another guy. He hasn't seen his family since October 7th. I was working at the hospital, and he came in. He was working at Shifa Hospital. He was working from day 1 till the day I was there. And this is when Shifa Hospital was like besieged for the second time. So Israel came and besieged it for the second time. So they took this guy. They kidnapped him. They questioned him for a few days, and then they let him go. And they told him, hey, walk to the south, from Gaza City. So this guy walks. He's been working 300 days on call, like 200 something days. Every day he's seeing like people dying, the worst injuries, just the saddest thing. He hasn't seen his family. He doesn't know what's going on with his family. They tell him walk to the south. He's like, okay, I'm gonna walk. He walks to the south. His shoes are messed up. He loses his shoes. He's barefoot. He walks to the south to my hospital, and he's like, hey, I want to start working. And he's working there now. And he didn't even have scrubs. They had to provide him with scrubs.
So I'm sure like a lot of us seen probably like on the news and through reels and so on, we've seen that especially like healthcare workers, hospitals, those became some kind of target from almost the start.
Yeah.
How did that translate on the ground? And I know like almost a few weeks after you've left, a lot of us like heard the news of like the caravan of medical workers.
Yeah, that was a few days after I left.
A few days after, exactly. And they were targeted by Israel, and they were hit by a missile. But it's like those stories around medical workers and hospitals are often used by Israel as like a way to say that we're coming after the hostages, we're trying to protect.
Yeah.
But like, what does it actually translate to?
I mean, when they invade a hospital, like first of all, they're evacuating the hospital. A lot of those people need to be in the hospital. Like they cannot leave. If they leave, they will die. They don't have like the medical equipment to have them survive outside the hospital. Other than that, there's thousands and thousands of people just living in the hospital. That's their home now. It's been their home for a while. And so when Israel first, they like tell them, hey, you gotta leave. So everybody has to leave. And then also on top of that, when Israel comes into the hospitals, they destroy everything in the hospital. So if there's medical equipment there, they destroy it. So now the thing is they have to take the medical equipment with them. It's a whole big thing. Like I worked in Al-Aqsa Hospital. People, there's like curtains everywhere. People are living there. It's like over capacity. It's like maybe it can have 200 beds, but like there's maybe like 3,000 people in the hospital.
And how's Al-Aqsa now from when you were there to where you are now?
Al-Aqsa now, it just got evacuated like a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago when I was about to go in again. Oh, by the way, I was trying to go again and I got denied. When I was about to go again, it got evacuated. So everybody had to leave. And then 2 days later, they can come back in. But someone from Gaza was telling me like one of the worst scenes about this whole genocide is like the mass like migration, like when you see like everybody get up and trying to leave, and it's really crazy because like they're like trapped, so they're moving from here to here, they're just getting bombed, then if you survive you go in here and then you're going here, and it's been like this for like 11 months. They're just like mice and they're just waiting to be slaughtered, and that's how they're living. Like they go from one tent to another tent, then the tent floods, then you have to evacuate, then your neighbor gets bombed, then there's an evacuation order. It's the most sickening and like the craziest thing, most unbelievable thing.
So I think also another piece that we struggle with, at least here, is like we hear about the stories of people that are able to go to Gaza, like healthcare workers even, and people that are able to support on other capacities. But I think we also like we hear a lot of hopelessness, even from like your story, for example. Like we're hearing of healthcare workers that are being killed. We're also hearing of people that are being killed over there. And as much as we try to send aid, as much as we try to do, we're not creating, like, it feels like we're not doing a difference. It's like, what's our role, at least bringing it back here?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a hopeless situation. And, you know, like, maybe in our lifetime it will be, like, hopeless. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean, like, we're Muslim. Like, everyone here is Muslim, right? So it doesn't matter about the outcome. Like we have to put in the effort, no matter what. Even if we don't get what we want, like that's not up to us. The outcome is not up to us. Our job is the effort we put in, and we have to do it. Like this is just a burden on us.
But I think what I'm trying to get to is like we issue with like this idea of like sacrifices. Like what does sacrifice mean?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's like struggling to understand of like sacrificing your job, your career, your education, and even sometimes your life. It's like, what are we missing here, at least in the US, around the issue of sacrifice? Where like people in Gaza are ready to sacrifice, and they're like, and we've even seen so many stories of like news reporters and so on. Even the Al Jazeera correspondent, like he lost his whole family in Gaza,
Yeah.
and so many others. It's like, how have they gotten so accustomed to sacrifice, and they've grown patient through it?
Yeah, we have a big problem here, like just being too comfortable. I think we all need to remember like where we come from. You know, if you're Palestinian, you know this could have been you. This could have been me. I'm like, you know what I mean? This could have been you. You just got blessed to be put in a land where you're not dealing with these things. So now you do have an obligation. You owe it to your ummah. You owe it to your Muslim brothers and sisters, and you owe it to Allah to do whatever you can to help them. You know what I mean? And like use any skill you have. Like I'm a nurse, so I use my skills to go to Gaza. Everybody here has skills. Either like if you're a computer science major, if you're marketing, you could do work for this ummah. You know what I mean? And you do have to do it. And there are risks. You know, they are against us, obviously. You've seen it in the last 11 months. But the only way they'll ever accept you is if you become like them. And you won't do that because you're Muslim. And you have to like really like get that into your skull. Like we can't be so comfortable with like art, like just chill and watch Netflix and like look at us right now, like on this nice carpet. Like we do have to sacrifice, like because this is our purpose in life. Like, this is for the sake of Allah. Like, everything we do is for the sake of Allah. And, you know, like, if you lose your job or if you lose something or if your life just got a little bit harder, if you, like why can't we make, like, going to a protest a weekly thing? Like, it's just one more thing. If you're doing it for the sake of Allah, it's not that bad. Just put it in your calendar. Every protest I'm gonna make it is not that hard. I've been doing it. It's not like I've been doing it, and it's like it's just part of my schedule. Like, if there's a protest, I'm just gonna attend. I'll chill with my friends the next day. We'll have a barbecue the next day. Like, we're chilling too much. I'll study the night before. Like, I speak for myself first. Like, but we do have to sacrifice, and this ummah won't change unless we start sacrificing for it. Yeah.
I think you hit on a lot of different points that I want to be able to touch upon before Salatul Isha comes by. And it's this idea of, like, what's our role here in the US after we hear some of these things. And so, for example, you touched on the idea that a lot of us here aren't healthcare workers, for example, but still have a role in what we can and what we can't do, of course. But I think also just touching a little bit more on, after we hear stories like this, it's like, what is our, like, direct obligation? What is there for us to do after that? Now that we know that we no longer can be comfortable and we have to begin in the habit of sacrifice, where is the first step?
I mean, it's different for everybody. Like, if you're in school, depending on, like, what you like to do, like, you could do, even if you don't like to do it, you can help organize, like, on campus. You could help in workplaces. You could come to the masjid, organize in the masjid, join the masjid. You know what I mean? And we could start things from here. It doesn't have to be in schools. It could start from right here in this masjid. Another thing is, I forgot what I was gonna say. What was I gonna say?
I'll help you out by so, like, just touching on another point. It's like there's also, like, there's a gender gap when it comes to the movement.
Yeah, there's a big gender gap.
Yeah. So what is there left for people to do on both sides? I'm saying it's like, from what you see, where can people step up?
Okay, I'm not saying protesting is the only way or the only thing, but, like, the sisters do show up to the protests way more than the brothers. And I don't know what's the reasoning for that. But at the end of the day, you also make the sisters more vulnerable. And, like, when the cops attack them, they're easier to attack. And they're more comfortable attacking them too. They don't like going after guys, actually. Like, they'll leave a big guy alone. They'll leave him alone. And I don't know what it is, but you guys have to show up, man. Like, it can't just be the same people and then just the girls getting abused. Like, Muslim men, you have to show up. Like, add it to your schedule. If you're scared of losing your job, wear a mask. Like, you know, it's not that serious. Like, just come out, please.
I think people are giving up.
And if we have more numbers, the more numbers we have, the easier it is to even protest. Because when we have small numbers, the cops, they just abuse us. But when we have big protests, they let us walk through the streets. So, guys, like, it's not hard. Just add it to your schedule, like, and do it for the sake of Allah. Like, I know there's like a bunch of reasons you could come up with to not go to protest, but I promise you, the reasons for going to protest are much more important and much more needed.
I think also 11 months in, some people are thinking about the aspect of, like, okay, what have protests done?
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are thinking about. Is there anything that you would, like, want to add from that standpoint? If someone were to tell you, like, hey, I'm not going because I feel like we've done nothing in these last 11 months.
I know it feels like we've done nothing. Like I said, the outcome is with Allah, okay? You do have to still show up. Like, you do have to come out. I mean, just come out of rage. Like, your brothers and sisters are dying. Like, how can you just sit at home? Like, if I'm free and I don't go to a protest, like, how can I sit there and watch TV or something? Like, while people are dying, like, and like, try to think about these people as the people next to you, because they're just like you. They're literally just like you. I met them and they're just like you, and maybe better. No, I'm joking. But seriously, like, we do have to like think of them as your brother. If you thought of them like that, you would be at every protest. Because if it was your kid, if it was your brother, you would be at the protest. You wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to stay home, I'm going to skip this one. Just come out, guys. Like, it's not that hard.
And then with the time that we have, I just want us to also touch upon, and something that you mentioned earlier, about the second time that you tried going back to Gaza, what that experience looked like, since it was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it was a very, very miserable experience. So the way to get to Gaza, so when I went the first time, I went through Egypt, through the Rafah crossing. But even then, like my passport goes to Israel and they approve me, as well as through like the mukhabarat, and the Palestinian Authority. So I got accepted. So I got accepted by the WHO. That means I have a seat on their armored truck to go into Gaza. So the new way to get into Gaza now is through Jordan to the West Bank to the 48 to Gaza. That's the way in now, because Rafah is completely destroyed, and they put up many restrictions. Like when I went through Rafah, you could bring $10,000 with you. We were allowed like basically unlimited bags. We could bring up medical equipment, medical supplies, medicine, baby formula. We could bring all of that. Now through Israel, people are only allowed to bring $2,800 with them. They're only allowed to bring one phone. You can only bring one bag, and like only medication that you can use for yourself, and no medical equipment. So like they're severely like choking people. So I got approved by the WHO. I flew to Amman, and I got there on Wednesday, and I'm supposed to leave Thursday morning, like 5 a.m. So the thing is, like when Israel is accepting you, they let you know if you're accepted or not. They clear you 12 hours before you're supposed to enter. So I got to Amman, and I got told I'm not cleared. They don't give you a reasoning. They tell you weeks after why. So that's Thursday. And they only let people in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's Thursdays. I'm like, crap, this is not good. So I wait till Tuesday. So my organization's like, hey, listen, just wait till Tuesday. We're going to try again next week. Like, let's keep trying. Because sometimes, like an Israeli like officer could just be annoying that day and just deny people randomly. So I wait till Tuesday, and still like I get denied again. Then Thursday I try again, denied again, and then my org is like, listen, just stay one more week, and then khalas, like that's it. So I stayed another week till Tuesday, and then I got denied again. And then they told me I actually can't even apply again. So like that was it for that. But alhamdulillah, like they told me like the reasoning I can't get in is for public safety and security, whatever. But yeah, like that's how they're doing people. And alhamdulillah, like like at the end of the day, okay, that was my role to play. Like I went to Gaza, I helped the people, and now I got denied. Now I have to figure out different ways to help. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there for real. Like just because I got denied, that just means I have to figure out new ways to help. And so that's what I'm on right now.
Would you say that there was a connection between why you got denied and like your activism here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I 100% think there's a connection between that.
I think some people might get scared to be active because of that. For example, it's like, for example, whether they want to visit Al-Quds one day, or if they want to apply for a specific job, or they want to get into a specific kind of education, and they're like worried. They're like, the reality is, if I get to enough protests, probably get doxxed at some point.
Yeah, like if you want to visit Al-Quds, like standing up for justice, standing up for your brothers in Islam, I would have to think that it's more important than you visiting Al-Quds. I'm not gonna lie. Like I wanted to visit Masjid Al-Aqsa. Like I tried. They said no. But like this is more important. Like like it's not written for us if that's the case. You know what I mean? And you do things to help the ummah. Like serve your ummah. Like this is what we have to do. What did you say again? What's the second thing?
And connecting it to why people are scared here.
Oh yeah, I do get it. Like it is very annoying. Even with jobs for me, like my Canary Mission profile is just like the first thing on Google. My name is very not common, so it's the first thing. So it's very annoying. But khalas, like like don't even think about it. Just get on there and then live your life after that. Like figure it out. Don't get too scared, guys. Like you're doing this for the sake of Allah. Like sacrifice. It's about sacrifice, because you're not just living to live. You're living for Allah. You're not just like, this is all for Allah. Like, and if this is your life after that, I promise the people in Gaza are suffering a lot more right now. So, hey, man, like, embrace the suffering. Like, take it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and so khalas, I'll wrap up on just a quick point around this. I think the aspect around like the community support around it, like even when you went to Gaza and so on, it's like there were a lot of different asks for either like fundraising a certain amount for us to, for example, get you like food, for example, to enter into Gaza. I think a lot of people, at least from the start, I think it was very clear that people were worried of getting doxxed because they were worried that there wasn't going to be a community to support them at some point. If they got arrested, there wasn't going to be a community that was going to support them. But I think that was one of the biggest successes from the protests from 11 months ago to now. It's like communities started getting built. Like whether it was like Mass or CARE or a lot of the other organizations, it's like the reality is like a lot can happen to you and your community's got your back. Like whether it's a Staten Island community or a lot of the other communities. And that's something that's like, it really got built through trial.
Yeah, I know. And you got a lot of support for your arm. And
yeah. But like the reality is that like people are going through worse every day. And I think our communities are learning through it. It's like we're only getting used to learning how to support each other because of how used to we got of like with arrests.
And it just goes to show like the past 11 months, like, you know, we do have to look out for each other. We do have to like grow as a community and help each other and create businesses that support our people and like build law firms that like hire Muslims, you know what I mean? Like because they are firing us. So we have to like figure out a way that they can't do this to us. They can't like just hold us hostage with like they're holding a gun to us like, hey, if you speak out, we're just gonna shun you. No, we're gonna fight back. We're gonna build our communities and we're gonna like we're going through this. That's it.
And I think we're getting there. Like
yeah, we are. I think we are.
Like we're getting enough places that right now are willing, like getting fired from an institution for Gaza will eventually become your honor at another workplace.
Yeah.
Like if you get fired from somewhere else, like there will be a Muslim organization like Mass, like CARE, and the others that are willing to hire you for those exact reasons. No,
and it's
exactly.
happened. Yeah.
Like, and we've heard the stories of like, for example, Sister Janan from Chicago.
Yeah.
She was fired from a very well-known law firm. She was given a very high welcome offer. Muslim organizations quickly came together and gave her that same exact offer working for them. And so for her, the reality was not only did she fight, she got the lawsuit, she helped keep her like conscience clear, like because she could have backed down. They gave her the option to.
And at the end of the day, Allah is on your side. Like just remember that. Like whatever you go through because of this, it's khair because Allah wrote this for you and you're doing the right thing. And if you're doing the right thing, then Allah will support you. And even if you think it's hard, it's what was written for you and what is meant for you and what is the best thing for you. And just think like that. And everybody get on Canary Mission. And then we'll be good. Because if everyone's on it, they won't be able to like track everybody.
I think that's a big aspect of it as well. It's like there's too little people that are taking the hits.
Yeah.
That it's easy for them to make the hits.
Yeah.
And so it's like the reality is like it's easy for them to take down the 4 guys at the protest because there's 4 guys at the protest. If there was 100 of them, then it's very hard for them to take all of them down. And the same thing goes to what we've been seeing all across the board. It's even like the fact that the like healthcare workers, like the WHO, asked you to stay for almost 3 weeks, showed the desperation that they were in.
Yeah.
That they were like, we're willing to pay, we're willing to keep this one person here as a nurse. And for us, we think of nurses here as something that is like, we really don't appreciate nurses here, honestly. Like we think of them as like the lowest when you get into a hospital, for example.
Damn.
This person, he's the waiting person. And I know you took that one personal, but that's the person that you're just waiting with until the actual doctor comes by. But you realize the actual situation in Gaza is like, this person could be the actual doctor just because they don't have anyone else to...
They call you doctor.
Yeah, it's because they don't have anyone to do surgery. They don't have anyone to be doing anything else. And the nurse that's there from America, if anything, could be the highest honor that they have in front of them. And so sometimes just taking advantage of those opportunities. But khair, inshallah, I think we're coming close on time. And so just to give a quick reminder to everyone once again, 2 weeks from right now, we're going to continue this Gaza series for a good while, inshallah, because we see that there's a huge importance behind it. And alhamdulillah, we see that the community's also been asking for more topics. And so 2 weeks from right now, we're going to be at the Mass Youth Center on Friday. And we're going to be doing a joint event. I believe that day is October 11th. We're going to be doing a joint event for a commemoration for October 7th because of what happened and as a commemoration of 1 year of genocide. And so show up to the Mass Youth Center on that day, and inshallah we'll be having Brother Sami Hamdi and a few other speakers there, including Brother Raja Abdul Haq, who was with us last week. And then 2 weeks after that, I believe, is a day, October 25th. Here at the center, we'll be joined by Imam Tom Fakini. He was here during Ramadan. He gave a great lecture, alhamdulillah, about getting involved as a community, inshallah, in different aspects. And so those are the two main events coming up, but we're also lining up November and December with several events. If there are any questions, inshallah, we have just a few minutes. We could take one question from each side, and then we could wrap up if anyone has any questions, inshallah. So I'll quickly open the floor. Brothers, and if not sisters, go ahead, sister.